Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, so that's fine. Everything is good.
I just sent him a message.
All is good. Sure. So yeah, so I've been a educator for about 20 years now. I've taught at a number of schools throughout the northeast coast of the province, and I started off as a social studies and a science teacher, and sort of the social studies, that traditional approach to teaching. I was even a part of a team that made up the public exam for social studies, for world geography for 1 year. And then about 10 years ago, my kind of teaching course load changed, and so did my headspace about education. My mindset about education transformed, in hindsight. And that whole headspace and that whole situation evolved into lots of wonderful experiences in the classroom. One of them is this iBooks textbooks creation project that I'm going to share with you. Okay? So currently, for the last 10 years, I've been an educator at St. Kevin's High School in the Goulds, teaching technology and career education and a bunch of other electives. It's been years since I've had an exam. So, and that's wonderful in my world. So we're going to take about 20 minutes, 25 minutes. I'll overview the project. I'll demo some of our creations. And then I have some iPads there, and magically I have 11 iPads, and there's probably 11 people here. It was meant to be. So we'll get everybody to have an iPad, and you can kind of pick through the book and see what you think. But you know, as a learning tool, and as something that was created by students. But in the spirit of safety, I thought I'd start off with a safety share. Okay, so it's a short 1-minute television ad that aired in Australia last year.
In 2016, 291 people died on our roads. What do you think would be a more acceptable number?
Acceptable? 70 maybe? Probably 70.
You said 70. Actually, this is what 70 people looks like. So now, what do you think would be a more acceptable number?
0. 0.
So what is the acceptable number of workplace accidents? What's an acceptable number of accidents in our personal lives? Of course, the answer is 0, of course. But the reality is that every year, about 1,000 Canadians die in workplace accidents. In this province, on average, 2 young workers are hurt on the job each day. So education, of course, is the key to creating a culture of safety. And this is especially important with teenagers. Teenagers are just entering the workforce. They want to impress. They want to give the impression that they can get the job done. They're often not aware of their workplace rights and responsibilities. Many feel invincible, that nothing's going to happen to me. And of course, that's not the case. So, planting the seeds of safety is especially important in the teen years. And about 20 years ago in our province, the Department of Education partnered with the Avalon West School District. And they developed a local credit course that would be a 2-credit course for high school students. So it was kind of traditional in its approach, the old textbook. There's not a picture in the book. But it was a start. So that was about 20 years ago. So in 2012, my school decided to offer the course. It was still what's called a local credit course at the time. It wasn't a provincial level course. So St. Kevin's High decided to offer the course, and I was asked to teach it. So my, of course, guiding question was, how can I make sure this will be an engaging course for students? How can I make sure they take as much out of this as possible? And at the same time, like I said earlier, my view on teaching and learning was really changing. The ed tech was changing to allow students to become content creators. The iPad had just come on the scene. So the iPad, in many ways, can be the ultimate content creation tool. Microphone, camera, millions of applications, Wi-Fi connectivity, accessibility for students with disabilities. So the iPad was on the scene. Apple had just launched a software program called iBooks Author, which it's free and still is free today to anyone with a Mac, and that allows people to publish interactive digital textbooks to iTunes. So the technology was changing. As a teacher, my mindset was changing. It was a happy storm. And then, lo and behold, a partnership formed between my school and Workplace NL with two goals. So one goal was with double goals, to create a series of digital interactive textbooks related to workplace safety, and to share these resources in the province and beyond. So we set out, we purchased some MacBook computers, we purchased some iPads, we bought some camera gear and some more media creation gear, and we purchased a 2-day training program from Apple Canada. So Apple Canada came into the school with a trainer, trained 20 students, myself and another teacher, and we were off to the races. So here's a short video trailer of clips from that training session, and in many ways it was the trailer to the project. So I'll just play this and you can get a handle on where we're going. And so it began, the iBooks textbook creation project. So the project was organized with universal design for learning principles in mind. So we met curriculum outcomes in such a way that empowered students to become graphic designers, photographers, videographers, research writers, editors, and book designers, and so much more. Okay? Students could reflect on their interests and abilities, and then they decided the path they wanted to go down. So curriculum outcomes were met in, I guess, new and innovative ways. So for example, there's a chapter on noise and hearing conservation. So students used iPad and a couple of iPad noise measuring apps to record noise levels in a variety of environments, such as come on, you can play. There we go. Okay, and so there were a number of projects like that. We set up scenarios that simulated working environments as well. Then other learners were a little more artistic in their approach, and in an effort to make it as transformational as possible and differentiated as possible, they had the opportunity to do digital sketching on an iPad. So here, for example, is a sketch that a young girl made using 2 free iPad apps, Paper 53 and Sketchbook Express, and it was made with both her finger and a free stylus. Same situation, same apps, different student. But again, the curriculum outcomes were demonstrated in an approach that suited the needs, the learning styles of an artistic learner. Some more students were really into video gaming. So we set up a situation where they worked together to create a Minecraft safety world collaboratively. So 5 students using 5 different iPads, sometimes in the same classroom, sometimes in different parts of the school, built a Minecraft safety world, and then they did a screen recording of a video walkthrough series. Here's a little clip. So this turned into a 3-part video series that showed up in our book. Here's a clip from one of those videos. Arr, come on.
Welcome to our Minecraft safety world. The purpose of the series is to guide you through Mr. Clarkson, our safety giant. Follow along to learn more about personal protective equipment.
So in one of our titles, there's a 3-part series going there, and the students took real ownership of this, and it was theirs. And it, of course, became part of a bigger thing. Then, so another, what began as a small group project, but turned into a full class project, was a music video parody of Happy. So students really enjoyed this, and I'll just show it to you, and then we'll talk about it from there.
Injuries include slips, falls, and trips.
So a short clip from a 2-minute video.
In your workplace, heed the warning signs. Don't rush around, just take your time. Workplace safety. Practice safety when you're working on the ground or on a roof. Workplace safety. Whether you're experienced or your first job in your youth. Workplace safety.
Yes. And so I guess in hindsight, I knew I had them hooked when the students were out in the hallway singing the lyrics to the song. And that went on for a month. And it was transformational for me. So we collectively, the class of occupational health and safety students, which at this time the course was turned into a provincial course with a provincial textbook with actual colored pictures and like a legit textbook, and sort of rebranded as a provincial level course. At the same time, we had taken all of the building blocks that students had made, comics, sound recordings, video creations, the photography, text writing, and we, using the power of iBooks Author, we harnessed it into a 40-page interactive textbook that was published to iTunes. Okay? So we'll pick through this now in a little while. Then the next year, we did the same thing. The second title was more specific on personal protective equipment, but again, it's 40 pages of content made by students for students. And so it's available on iTunes for free to any iPad, to any iPhone 7 or newer, or to any Mac computer. And I think it's available in 53 countries. I can track the downloads. So there's been downloads in Europe, Latin America, throughout Canada, the United States, and of course Newfoundland. So now some teachers in Newfoundland are using the titles as a supplemental resource to the textbook. Of course, we had to showcase this to the world. We were generally pretty quiet and modest or humble about this, but we did hold a big showcase at the school and invited in some dignitaries from Workplace NL, and some other government officials showed up because they like doing that. And students were very proud. Students showcased it right then and there. And currently, we're working on our third title. And the students, many of the building blocks are in place for this. The topic would be very current and relevant, mental health and wellness. We have many of the building blocks hosted on a web page, and we're in the process now of putting it into iBooks textbook format, launching it and making it available. So, if at any time you're interested, you want to help spread the word, you can, in iTunes or in the iBooks app on any Apple device, you can search by the title of the book, you can search by my name or St. Kevin's High School. And the first hit you should find will be one of these two books. So it's a free download. Again, to any that's kind of one of the unfortunate parts, to any Apple device. And with that said, let's take a look. Any questions at this point? Love's a good question.
So has the department then adopted some of these to be complementary, or is the department promoting your project to be complementary to the textbook?
There has not been the support that I would have expected, to be truthful. Right, yeah, there just hasn't been, and I'm not sure. Apple technology doesn't have a, like there's about 10,000 iPads in schools, but it doesn't have the support of the Department of Education that many feel it should. Yeah. Kind of informally, you know, I've networked this out and spread it out, and informally, some people at the school district have shared it out, but no, there's no formal position there, unfortunately. Oops. And that's kind of like when I heard of this conference. I just, to this point first, when I heard of the conference, and knowing that things have been pretty quiet about the publicity and spreading the word on this work, I kind of felt compelled to submit an application to see if they would be interested, and felt compelled to come and kind of spread the word, because it is absolutely a transformational project from the students' point of view. Teacher's point of view, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and there was a question back here.
That's what the question is, more of an observation. We have a scenario where we have some older adults who have no grounding or background, struggle with technology, while children, really small children, are wizards. They're going all over the place. Harness is, why don't we harness this? This is what you've done.
Well, thank you, thank you. There are still challenges. Like today's learner, they're so into consumption, passively sitting and consuming information with the technology. It really is a struggle to encourage and support students to get them out of their consumption passive comfort zone and get them more actively engaged and creating. So that is a struggle more so than it was even 5 years ago, actually. Yeah. Question?
I'm just wondering, I know it's very mental health and wellness.
Yeah.
Do you bring in experts? My background is in nursing.
Yep.
So I'm thinking, your community health nurses and
Yep.
the expertise that's available.
So,
Kind of partnership?
Well, for the last couple of years at our school, I've partnered with our school guidance counselor, and we offered a full-day mental health awareness day, and we captured lots of photography and video clips during that day, where we had experts come in and do full gym presentations, and we captured all that, planning the building blocks. And every year, our guidance counselor will come in and do at least one full class session with my class and also my career development class. So I do a lot of partnership. And as I'll show when we demo this, as we did like with these two titles, we bring in agencies like the Construction Safety Association, Workplace NL. They give us their PowerPoint presentations even. With their permission, we embed those in the book. So absolutely, we will need to do the same thing for mental health, because of course I guess we're sharing information, but we're certainly not experts in the field. And our focus will be more on wellness and resiliency.
I'm just thinking if there's some, because I think it's so important. Like if this, I actually teach in the master's program with them, and a lot of their projects are around educational type of projects for nurses in practice.
Yep.
And I see this, the structure that you set up is perfect for the example of how they could easily into technology to narrative, but now I get like a plea to advise kind of thing. Right?
Yep.
But,
Yep.
what I was going to say was the partnering with looking at evaluation,
Yes.
the research around how you can evaluate and then publish on it to get it out there. But this is really you're having fun answers.
Oh, well.
And you're high school, like I think like you said, the kids are doing it, and yet here we have masters and teachers who don't know that really they could be using this kind of a resource.
Absolutely. And university students throughout the world, really, some are using this technology because I network with them through Twitter and at other conferences, and others are not. It's well known, yet it's not well known, unfortunately. Yeah. Well, and interestingly enough, there's a teacher, a university teacher in Victoria, who teaches. He teaches in a medicine faculty out there. I'm not sure exactly where, but he has made interactive textbooks on the procedures related to CPR, I believe, because I met him at a conference once, and like he's done the same thing that I'm doing, but it's at a high-level medical application. His students have made the books, and he's also made them as instructional aids as well. Yeah.
I just have a student who's a freshman on the provincial union manual.
Yeah.
But it's all paper-based manual, and one of the issues for nurses in practice is that, well, unless I had that manual in writing in front of me, I can't actually access it. Whereas everybody has an access.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's
Yep.
really like only limited by your imagination.
Yep. Yep.
And that makes the question, not everybody has
Right.
format.
Yep.
Is this translatable to Android or Windows?
It is. Unfortunately, the interactive features that I'll demonstrate in a second are lost. So in iBooks Author, you can output as an EPUB or as a PDF file, but it's static. There's no video or embedded sound, or the interactive features are lost. And that's unfortunate, and of course educators, we're all big, I guess we all believe in a shared open community, and unfortunately this is not. Yeah. Well, yes, it kind of is. Yeah. 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 Now, in the same breath, Apple just released Pages, which is their equivalent to Microsoft Word, and in Pages you can create digital books as well. That doesn't have the same interactive ability, but still quite powerful. Anyway, sidebar. So just for the sake of demoing, so kind of on my iPad, a bunch of different classroom-related apps. The iBooks app is the app that, it's Apple's app for holding books, and it can be a static book. A PDF can be viewed in iBooks, or interactive books. So the first two here on my shelf are the two that were published by our school. which one will we look at? We got the artwork cover or the photography cover? Artwork? And artwork it is. So the book opens to the last page that was opened. So in this case, it was the cover page for chapter 1. I'm just tapping on the top of my iPad here, and I can get another view here. Here's the cover page for chapter 1, and here's the thumbnails of all the pages within chapter 1. I can flip through, swipe left to go through all my cover pages. I can see all my thumbnails in here, and I'll swipe back again, and now I'll tap right here to open up chapter 1, page 1. Again, this is if it doesn't say that this is content from outside, it's the students and staff own the content, i.e. this picture taken on the front entrance at school. So the topic of the book was obviously personal protective equipment. It's one of the chapters in the textbook. And it was an easy one to do. So, talking about embedded video, check, check. Right, so the full 2-minute version is here on page 1, because this was an awesome project and we had to have it up front. We might as well watch the whole video. Everybody had their role. There were people behind the scenes and people front line. The students called all the shots, except I talked the staff into doing this one. But all the other shots were designed by the students. I helped them edit, but they took the lead with it. There were a few hands in that class, yeah. Occupational health and safety. Yep, this was purely a product of that class. Yeah. And they were all grade 12s. They were challenging to motivate, because many times grade 12s they're a challenging group to teach, but they took hold of this, and it was incredible. Absolutely. And especially like the course, so much of the course is about attitude. So no joking, like they would be walking around the corridor during recess humming the words to the song. And then other students are asking, what are you doing? Right? Oh, we're making this workplace safety parody video. And you know, we set up this scenario, and it's about being safe in the hallways and so on and so on.
Do you find that your students coming in grade 11 and say, if I take this course next year, where are you going to make books at all?
There is a bit of an expectation of that, yeah. Yeah. And course enrollment has grown. Now there are 2 classes. There's another teacher, and he's kind of into this thing as well. So we partner off of each other. So yeah, so things have come along nicely. So I'll just swipe through. Of course, we got the first in that 3-part series here. There are other interactives as well. Like I can tap on this, and I'll get more info, and I can go through. Okay?
And they're all features of the iBook author.
Yes. So I'm just going to demo some of the features of creating a digital textbook within that software program, iBooks Author.
So did you have to download other apps designed to make that program too?
Right. So we had community interviews. So the students went out and interviewed people in the community about personal protective equipment, and that's embedded as a scrolling text box. This picture, so this was an oil work painting that a student who, probably one of the best artists that I've seen go through our school, and she did this as her contribution to the book. And I gave her a grade. So the grading, I tried to grade with rubrics as much as possible, but if people contributed to it and they were doing their part, they did well, because they were a part of the bigger picture. Ruth mentioned about so third-party apps. So this little touch right here will be a third-party widget that we put in here, if it loads. So it's a little scratch and reveal. That is a little quirky thing, but people like doing that stuff. And then, so another page. So this will be an example of a community contribution. The Construction Safety Association, our regular guest speaker into my classroom, they come in, they give the full 1-hour talk on personal protective equipment, and they willingly and eagerly offered their standard out-of-the-box presentation to be a part of this. Yep. So before Christmas, and of course you figure it out as you go. My approach now is before Christmas, I cover, I guess, half the course, almost half the course, and each topic I kind of do it in 2 ways. So I might do a traditional question and answer assignment to teach the content, or I'm teaching the content traditionally, and then for that subject, there would be a creation project, where students could do create anything, and I give them I provide the technology and coach them through the technology, but they can do a photography collection or a 30-second radio ad, whatever. So we cover it that way with a traditional teaching and assessment, and then a creation project, and then after Christmas might do the same thing. And then I'll break it down, and we might take a month to work together to build the book. And I've taken lead with the actual compilation. Like the students, there may be an editor in the group, or a couple of editors, people who are really good with text writing. But in many ways, I've been the compiler, because that's the hardest part, is to get them to actually write the text, to link it all together. So it's hard to put timelines on it. To create these 2 products, it has been, I've been 100% dedicated to this as well, if that makes any sense. Yeah. So another feature, though, of this format, this platform as a learning resource, is built-in assessment pieces. So what is meant by the term PPE, so students can answer that, and my goodness, hopefully everybody got this right. Oh my goodness. Let me see. Whew. Okay. So you can have built-in assessment pieces here, a little drag and drop. And again, like across North America and worldwide, these type of learning resources are building a lot of momentum because it's self-paced assessment. Oops, see if I can just get this. Right. And a lot of science textbooks now globally are in this format. So you see where I'm going with that. A couple more features. So I haven't shown any comics yet. So students use a different app to create comics, and then we place these in here. And
So they photographed all those little bits in that comic, with the comic?
absolutely. Yep. And again, for other classes, like my career education group, we may go out on some field trips. And I'm always taking the camera with me, snapping off pictures, and then the pictures can come in here with some teaching moments as well. And there's a little tap and reveal. So this little character, another student sketched this character. And then we use that to do a tap and reveal. Okay? So how about, if you're interested, I can kind of give you one of these. These are 4-year-old iPads. They're still good. They're as heavy as anything compared to new gear. I'll just pass it down. So if you wish to open up, and there's the iBooks app. There you go. You're welcome. There you go. Okay, you're welcome. Yeah, so let's go back to... So, the hardest part is getting going. So you're looking for... now, these iPads are used pretty regularly in school, and students may have that iBooks app icon. It could be on the 3rd page or it could be on the 1st page. So you're looking for this icon here, and you tap on that once. And if you tap on it once, it will likely open to the last page that was opened. Hopefully that was one of our 2 books. I cleaned these up, and the other books that are on there are likely removed. You may see another book called Life on Earth, which is a demo book. But yeah, perhaps if we take a few minutes to kind of explore through. So the books are meant to be viewed in landscape mode. And that'll give you the full perspective in landscape mode. And once it opens up, it's a swipe left, swipe right to go from page to page.
This is as a, for those who didn't actually create it.
Yep.
So the ones who are enrolled in your course, obviously it's a learning resource for them. Do you use it in any way in terms of like if they get the questions right or?
No.
No.
And it's interesting. So I use this now when I'm introducing the course to new students. The title, Introduction to Young Worker Safety, has some good material on workplace rights and responsibilities and the fundamentals of the Occupational Health and Safety Act and so on. So I use this as my main learning resource and evaluate through journal entries, or I even have a set of old school worksheets that students do. And some of the questions on the worksheets are the same as those multiple choice. So I'm still interested in the feedback from students on what do they prefer as an individual learner. Do they prefer like this type of interactive resource that's self-directed, that they can go through their own pace at their own time, or would they prefer a teacher upstanding traditionally copy down all of this because there's a test on Tuesday? And it's interesting. Like, it seems like it's a 50-50 split. Many students still, by the time they get to high school, unfortunately, they've been taught that that's their learning style. Copy down this to study for the test. And that's not good. And I'm sure you see that at the university level. That was a part of some of our conversations yesterday and this morning, that they expect to be given the information and they just consume it. And it really is challenging to push them outside of that comfort zone of having to think and create, especially. And like, creation is the top of Bloom's taxonomy. It was, I think, promoted up to the top of the ranks in 2001. So it's the ultimate way to demonstrate learning is through creation.
Is there any way to reset the book?
What do you mean reset?
Like, so clearly someone else has been reading this book on this iPad prior to me. So
Yep.
you use it in your next, because there's some activities that are done.
Like which one?
Oh God, I don't know. I went through the whole.
Some of the videos are YouTube dependent.
Yeah, no, like some of the assessments and stuff.
Yes.
Answers
Yeah.
and
So
that.
just hit clear answer.
Okay.
There's no mass reset.
Set. Okay, perfect.
And some of these are four-year-old iPads. It may be slow in you might tap and like there's kind of a delay.
Yeah, no, they're right.
So there's crosswords in there. I was wondering if you were talking about, there's a word search and a crossword. So you can reset the word search and crossword as well. And those are third party, just like that scratch and
So they
reveal.
all have to be done by the individual user.
Yeah.
So you got to do that every term.
Yeah, well, and again, I wouldn't like, so I have a set of worksheets done up now. Old school worksheets that students work through with the book as the resource. Yep. Well, that's a nice throwback for me, actually, because that was back in 2011 that student made that project.
I can't believe you actually did this in one school year.
The first introduction to young worker safety was the first school year, and the following school year was personal protective equipment.
But I mean, either one, in one school year.
Well,
Did you find the students, did you have it hard to sort of motivate them to complete it, or did
yeah,
you find them really engaged in it? Like when you
it's challenging. Like I said, like it's challenging getting students out of that comfort zone. But both cases, there was a critical mass of students that had enough of a varied skill set to make it work. And of course, there were resistant students as well. So I had to come up with alternate ways to assess them. So textbook questions, and they're there, and for different reasons. They were resistant, and perhaps they weren't attending school, or so on. But luckily, you know, things came together, and so on, and hopefully things will come together for our third title, right? But it is a bit, you know, to produce one of these of 40 pages, it's a full year job, because you take, the majority of the work is building the bits and pieces. And then it's kind of easy to put it all together, relatively speaking. Yeah. Yep. No, it involves an app that's on this iPad, and it's probably on some of those. It's a Minecraft Pocket Edition. So that it's like, the app is $4.99 or $5.99. And on our school's network, the students could all join the same world. Like, I completely learned from them. I had at the time, I think my daughter was 7, and she was just starting to explore Minecraft. So I was curious kind of for her, or for me to discover it so I could relate to her, perhaps. I'm not sure how it went, but I provided them and kind of coached from a distance. And they're like, yes, sir, so this is what you do. And all of a sudden, they're on the same world. And I just made sure the iPads were on the same network. If that makes sense. So it was a $6 app. And then we recorded their walkthrough. I knew how to do that technology. Did the recording by mirroring the iPad off of a computer, and then did the screen recording here. Yeah. But that was fun for them too. They really, you know, like as a high school teacher, when your class ends because of the bell, that's a good thing. And that happens pretty often. So yeah, it was good. Yeah. Yeah, so I guess that's kind of the project. It's a working, you know, it's hopefully an ongoing thing. And I guess don't hesitate if you have any questions, of course. Let's get back to this one. At any time, I'm an email away. On income? Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, no, it's good and it's rewarding to, you know, to obviously to see the engagement. Yeah, so if there's any questions, I'm fairly active on Twitter, so you can track me down that way, or an email, or don't hesitate with any questions. I do a fair bit of work. Part of my duties at St. Kevin's is related to professional learning. I'm the librarian as well, so which is not interesting for a science major to become a librarian, but I am, and I do a lot of work with the school district, providing professional learning to teachers and so on. And I've taught a course at Memorial last fall for primary elementary teachers related to tech ed. So I certainly, you know, would be only too happy to connect with you to talk about sharing and doing this creation, this type of creation. There are many ways to go with this. Yeah. Yep. I think the app was actually called Decimal Meter. There are many. There are many. I think the app was actually called Decibel Meter, or Decibel Meter Pro. Let's come down here. DB, no, it's not on there. If I recall, it's Decibel Meter Pro. But, so we had a presentation from Workplace NL one year, the person responsible for noise and hearing. So she came in with all of the different assessment tools and devices and expensive stuff, and then she concluded, this free app will do a good job as well. and then she recommended a bunch of them, and she said like she doesn't go to a concert without taking out her phone and doing a noise assessment with her app. Yeah. Yeah. Well, so it's interesting. So like I've had students, I had a student one year show up with straight pipes on his motorcycle. Like, loud, really loud, and he had an open-faced helmet. He was pretty cocky about it, and I got some bike out there, sir. Come out and see her. And I heard him pull up even, and he was talking about it. And so, of course, I had to go get the iPad, or I actually gave it to him. And at recess, he went out and revved it up, and it measured something like kind of something unhealthy, over 100 decibels, I think. So it was, taking the learning outside the classroom. Yeah.
John, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're fortunate to have a creative teacher, someone willing to invest all of that time and to teach them a lot of other skills that they can put to use.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It's a pleasure. I enjoy being here and getting the university perspective. And we share a lot of the same concerns and challenges. Yeah, for sure.
Thank you so much. Really enjoyed that.
Thank you. We had just the right number, too.
Thank you.
Thank you.